Iraq due to their conflict measurement with the central government. Even the Iraqi government, regional countries, international communities did not support the process. Kurdish leaders and Kurdistan regional government had taken the process on scheduled time. As a result, most of the ethnicities, Kurds, Turkmens, Arabs, beside the religious groups, including Yazidin, Kakais, Chaldean, Assyrian, Shabaks, Muslims, Baha'is in the region participated in the referendum, with a 92.73% voted for the separation from Iraq, and only 7.27% voted against the independency. However, the Kurdistan region government stated that the independency, the Kurdistan region government stated that they were not announcing its separation from the Iraq immediately. Iraqi federal government strongly faced the process and resulting by accusing Kurdistan region, particularly the president of Kurdistan region, Mr. Masoud Barzani, as a separatist and a populist leader and threatened the Iraqi unity. Here, I'm going to focusing on the main obstacles and challenges facing the Kurdish for their attempt for their independent mechanism. One of the main challenges faces the referendum was related to the geopolitical isolation of the regional players and miscalculating of the Kurdish leader toward the reaction to referendum result. Kurdish leaders seems to underestimate response from the neighboring countries, precisely Iran and Turkey. Iran and Turkey were concerned the referendum would be incentive toward independence movement among their own Kurdish minorities and thus destabilize the region as in general. From their political analysis aspects, the 8 million Kurds in Iran and nearly 15 million in Turkey will be directly affected by the referendum movement. Therefore, both states coordinate with Iraqi forces to conduct a joint maneuver and maintain an offensive position, making clear opposition to the referendum. Although KRG expected more flexibility from Baghdad in pushing for independence, given Kurdish Peshmerga and Iraqi forces' collaboration in the fighting against ISIS. But political push from Turkey and Iran turned the game into another direction. Iraq responded with a hindrance to protect the status quo surrounding the disputed territory and acknowledge self-determination as a tool of against the unity and sovereignty of Iraq. The dispute area is related to some areas between Kurdish and Turkmen and Arabs, which is mostly in Kirkuk provinces. Indeed, the beginning Iraqi government and Iran called for the KRG to not conduct the vote and threatened using military measures to prevent Kurdish secession. As the referendum neared, Iraqi toughened his position, urging the vote to cancel altogether and thereby increasing the political stake for the KRG. After the vote, Iraq urged movements, departments, and agencies to deal exclusively with the Baghdad for trade in attempt to cut off Kurdish financial lines and welcomed military support pledged by traditional regional rivals of Iran and Turkey. On the other hand, calculating Turkish support prior to the referendum vote was in many ways unexpected. The relationship between Kurdish and AKP government had been friendly in the beginning, and the economic ties between KRG and Turkey were strong and reached to multi-billion dollars. From perspective of Sunni competitive in the area in which is another content, the Kurds tried to convince Turkey in terms of referendum and having strong Sunni blocs against the Shia sects. But the end meaning for Turkey was different calculation. From this perspective, an independent Kurdistan could actually decrease Turkey's role in the region in many aspects. But those were not the fact. In return, this increased the military build-up along the Turkey and KRG border, joint exercise with the Iraqi forces, and to closer airspaces to flight originating in the KRG. They closed all the sanction on the airspace on Kurdistan region for about more than 5 months. As far Iran, which has an ended bond with the Iraqi Kurds, precisely a specific political party, especially PUK, part of the leaders from the PUK, especially in joining efforts against ISIS, increased adaptation of Iran in this aspect. Mutual interests have also brought the KRG and Iran together economically in the past. The border has been a main gate for trade. After referendum, this turned in opposition direction. Iran fears that the ease of movement across its border will make secessionist movement among its own Kurdish minority. Following the referendum, Iran closed its border with the KRG, and its ranged military guard, as we call Pazdari in Persian, weapons system, including missile and drones along the border. This makes clear that miscalculation of the Kurdish toward the referendum was resulting geopolitical isolation of the two main countries, which has directly affected the decision made by Kurdish toward independence. Another barriers, another obstacles facing referendum, the international community's interest toward Kurdish independency movement was an important factor in the calculation by Kurdish leaders. The referendum holders were satisfactory toward Europe, precisely Britain, France, Germany, and United States and Russia. Their reaction, their inspiration that democratic countries are pro-democratic transitions in the Middle Eastern states and build new states was vague. The human rights principle, respecting people's decision and giving political rights to choose based on democratic principles, was only miscalculation. In the political spectrum, the interest is more profoundly important, and dealing with the Iraqi government and ignoring Kurds was leading to fear and anxiety among Kurdish of another massacre and genocide. Leads the Kurdish leaders holding referendum are losing more territory and economic sanction. As Gary mentioned that UK and US, France and EU and United Nations not ready to accept a new Kurdish state because of political ties with the Iraqi governments. So therefore, as being said, there is no friend for Kurds, only mountain. This is a kind of phrases we use in our language in Kurdish. We have no friends, only mountain. It's related to when governments suppress Kurdish, they are just run to mountains and start a revolution again. Okay. Final dilemma is related to the divisions and conflicts between Kurdish political parties. During attempts to simplify the regional tension following the referendum, the political divisions among leaders were another reason, showing obstacles toward Kurdish unity. The fear of losing the gaining experience of KRG oil dealing and strategic changes in leadership and different opinion among Kurdish political parties without having a clear aim become major challenge among Kurdish. Additionally, the Iraqi government has continued to shell Kurdish Peshmerga position in the Iraqi town of Zumar and maintained an offensive position on them because division among Kurdish. The PUK, part of PUK, I mean part leaders of the PUK, Kurdistan, United Patriot of Kurdistan, PUK, were pro-Iranian. They supported by Iran and dramatically moved to collaborate with the Iraqi government and giving back Kirkuk governance, Kirkuk provinces, and put Kurds in a dangerous position. Therefore, the division among Kurds make the independence objectives now seem more distant than ever. In conclusion, I would like to say that the geopolitical isolation and international community interests and our political party division is the main reason for the Kurdish to have their own states or their own independence. Actually, I've seen many of presenters, speakers, and they're talking about the raising of the nationalism. I'm not nationalist, but at least we are in the isolated geopolitics. So about 22 countries around the world is Arabs. So Turks have their own country. Persians have their own country. Only not allowed for Kurds to have their own independent state. That's all. I'm ready for any question. Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Thanks.
the presentation of your paper.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the audience for a speaker about this paper?
Yes.
I will ask the question afterwards in the pub and restaurant. We can discuss it further.
Okay.
But
Would you
sorry,
just introduce?
for the fifth time, I'm
Yes.
Still from Austria. You mentioned at the very beginning
Yeah.
the separatist movement, the referendum in Catalonia.
Yeah.
Very interestingly enough, obviously, at least we in Europe, or those who believe in human rights and autonomous rights, we say, okay, if a group of people feels it should be independent, taking care of their own politics, problems, let them be so. Suddenly there was a European arrest warrant for Senor Puigdemont. It was overruled by the German court, however. How do you feel about that? A European, let's say, the European Union or a member state of the European Union issuing an arrest warrant for a leader who stands up for a group of people who would like to have their autonomy. What is your connection?
Make clear question. Make the
Yes,
question.
because okay, you talked about let's say Kurdish region.
Yeah.
You're divided between Iraq,
Iraq.
Turkey, Syria, and since despite the political divisions that you have among
Yeah.
the Kurdish parties, you're a Kurdish nation
Yeah.
in a way, and you would like to have your own country.
Yes.
As you
Yeah.
rightfully say. Okay. And since in the beginning you mentioned the Catalonian
Yeah.
referendum as also being separatist,
Yeah.
whilst presenting the rights for the Kurds to have an independent state, what do you say? How do you find it that in the EU, Spain has filed an arrest warrant for the leader of the Catalonian separatists?
Yeah. Actually, the referendums between the distance between Kurdistan referendum and Catalonia referendum is not so far. I think in the same just month we took from 25 of September. They took the referendum on 1st of October, I think. Yeah, we just surprised when we find out EU and Western countries against the referendum on the in Catalonia. So the Iraqi government and Turkey and even Iran, they just waiting for such a reaction by Western. So if they accept the Catalonia referendum, they couldn't do such an action against the Kurdish. If European Western countries and EU didn't accept in a human rights society, didn't accept such as referendum result, how the people from Middle East and such as Iran and Iraq and even Turkey accepting our result? Yeah, it's not easy, but we try our best. Yeah, for the first time in our history, we have a chance to hold a referendum. We have no any other paper. We have no any other proof with any parties to write or to emphasizing on our rights. Only a referendum. The result of referendum is a kind of proof, yeah, for us. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I will. Being a Catalan, you know, it's funny to hear some of the international visits. Yeah, my name is.
Okay.
I will come closer even. My name is Esteban. I am the director of media of the ICD. Yeah. I disagree. First of all, I disagree a little bit that the EU show themselves against the referendum. I think was a politics. I mean, I think they didn't say anything. They were just waiting what's going on over there. And secondly, I would say that we have to understand that the Catalan reality. Spain is a very difficult country. You know, first of all, it's not that old that the people say. Even here in Germany, there is a city that you can see the shields, you know, the shields of the city, you know, the logos of the city. I think I don't remember the name of the city, but you can Google it. You have, Spain is not over there, but Catalonia is over there. And for example, what you have over there is Castilla. Castilla is what everybody is actually right now is one of the two regions in Spain because they are Castilla-La Mancha and Castilla-León. Castilla-León, you know, is where it comes from, you know, from there, the whole thing of Spain. Because what happened here is you have the Kingdom of Aragon and Catalonia was called Kingdom of Aragon and the Kingdom of Castilla. They married together, you know, because they didn't have children. So they did an agreement, okay, let's go together. But for many years, till 300 years ago, they are talking about thousands of years, people have to pay taxes in the borders. So which kind of country is that you have to pay taxes to go to one region to the other, and so on. So, but this is not the problem. The problem of Spain today regarding the referendum, I support the idea of the referendum. I support the idea of independence, but I don't want independence at all.
Why?
And some people are surprised because this is probably one of the main things that you have in Spain. For that reason, I said that the country is complicated. All this thing mainly is a protest against the Spanish political system because it doesn't work. They don't, for that reason, people say, well, I'm surprised when foreign people are telling me, do you speak Spanish? My answer is no. I am telling you, nobody in the world speaks Spanish. Because even the name of the language is not Spanish. It's Castellano, it's Castilian. But maybe nation branding, maybe propaganda, no. The language of French is French.
Yeah.
The language of England is English, and so on. The language of Italian is, Italy is Italian. So the language of Spain is Español. No, it's Castellano. But maybe for them it sounds vulgar, it sounds rural, whatever it could be. That's the reality, People is fighting against a system, against the monarchy, which it doesn't make any sense today. We're in the 20. We cannot talk about democracy of any kind of. Any country that has has the monarchy is democratic, because nobody is voting that person. First of all.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things we are fighting for. After Franco regime, some of the stuff didn't change too much. Can you imagine in Germany having a memorial for Adolf Hitler and a foundation, Imagine Adolf Hitler, the Stiftung, Adolf Hitler Foundation. We do have this in Spain today, and it's funded by the government. So the difference maybe it's different. Maybe you really want independence in Kurdistan, but in Catalonia, it's a kind of, okay, we want to be heard. What we want, okay, is a referendum for our independence, but wait, why we are asking for dialogue and we don't pronounce our independence automatically? Because there are a lot of people, and this is the work of politics, that the politicians are even put them on as an example, because he's from the Conservative Party. 10 years ago, they were not independent at all. It's just to make a threat, a political negotiation to say, change things of your country, or maybe, yes, we are going out. And that's the thing. We want to be the thing change, and if it doesn't change, we want the divorce.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the difference.
Actually.
I'm from Kosovo. I just wanted for you, because you mentioned that I just don't understand why Spain would be against any kind of referendum, because you do not support not only Kurdish state but
Not
also
Kosovo.
Also not Kosovo,
I
because
know.
why I don't understand why you take
No,
as
it's
a
very simple.
precedent case for Catalonia, which is not the same. It's uncomparable. Like,
Well, the point is like if the Spanish government today is supporting or is approving the Kosovo independence and the Kurdistan independence, automatically the political pressure, international pressure, hey, you have the same thing going on in your country.
no, it's not the same case. It's totally different. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot compare.
It's
Well,
totally.
we have our own language, our own culture, our own history. Spain is a country mainly 4 regions. There are 4 regions. We have 4 official languages: Galician Portuguese, the Basque country, and the Basque country is very strong. They also want independence.
Yeah, but actually the Middle East artificially made it after World War I. So Kurdish nations divided between these 4 countries. As I see most of the speakers here talking about how to finding a job for, you are looking for something else. We are looking for something which is totally different than in Europe. Catalonia, if they didn't take a referendum, but they have the rights in their constitution, and we are in Iraq and Turkey and Syria. We have not a right in our constitution. Even they writing our rights during the implementation, they didn't follow the constitution.
But you have to understand that this is never enough. This is a fight against the status quo, and a time to improve. You know, 30, 40 years ago, our language was also forbidden. People were put in jail and so on. And slowly, you want more. At the end, what you want is just to be free. And that's the main problem. Just to finalize, that's the biggest mistake of the Spanish government. Or they were really very smart, because with all of this, this debate, I'm going to finalize with this. With all these things that they are creating in this debate, what they're doing is hiding corruption. It's one of the most corrupted governments in Europe, or at least attached to the EU ever. You cannot really imagine. You know, one of the heads of the corruption is M. Rajoy, which is our president. But just because it's not Mariano Rajoy, nobody says anything. You know.
Okay, next question. Yeah.
Catalonia's economy is mainly Spain, so there's also the interest of the Spanish government to keep it.
Most of the business is there.
Yeah.
And the rest is just bureaucrats.
And just the last sentence, in addition to that, what happened in the UK? David Cameron was really very smart. He didn't want independence. But for the first day, what he said, I don't want independence for Scotland, but you know, I am a very democratic person. So from that day, he started to do, you know, campaign for no, and the others for yes. And maybe because there was no tension at all, at the end people vote no. Maybe some of them regret. What happened in Spain? By the time that he is denying and putting people in jail, the tension is growing. And maybe for now it's okay to hide the corruption.
Do you think Scotland, if they voted for independent, the international community and UK welcome for independent? No.
I think if soon there is another referendum, it will be different than the last one. The Brexit is an example.
Yes.
Well, there is not.
Someone from Britain here.
Because you were raising your hand.
No,
already.
no.
Okay, then Ms. Campbell.
Yeah.
And there'll be no delusion of grandeur. There's going to be another referendum in the UK. No.
Well, but it should be. Why referendum? Why we are talking about democracy only every 4 years?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Listen, in Catalonia we are doing salt. Do you know the story of Gandhi and salt?
No. I don't.
Gandhi, he was one day, to make salt was prohibited in India by the UK. One day he was taking people going to the coast. And slowly, every day he was starting. And the people were asking, what are you going to do over there? We are doing salt. And every day he was doing a little bit of salt because it was prohibited, that practice by the UK government. What are we doing in Catalonia? We are doing salt.
Okay.
Are there any